Welcome to First Time Watching. On the topic of rehashing old successful horror movies into mediocre new ones, packed with cheesy one-liners. I know what you did last summer definitely fell victim, but that's not what you really want to know. You want to know why the killer did what they did, who survived, and of course, how this whole movie sets up for an even crappier sequel. But before we get into all that, here's a quick movie recap. It's Danica and Teddy's engagement party, and their group of generically good-looking friends finally reunites to celebrate with them. They get the bright idea to smoke some grass and go for a ride. On the way to the car, they spot their old friend Stevie and some rando who doesn't matter, and they invite Stevie along. It's a little awkward since Stevie never got that rich daddy glow-up. Danica drives, while the rest drink and mess around. It's the 4th of July, and they watch the fireworks together. They pull over in the most dangerous turn to recklessly watch the big boom in the sky. Teddy is being a dick and stands in the middle of the road. A car comes and swerves to avoid him, crashes, and tumbles off a cliff, killing the driver. Teddy calls the cops anonymously and tells the group they need to get the hell out of there because he's not in the mood to be a murder suspect. Ava and Stevie need some convincing to play along because they have a conscience. But instead of driving to the police station to give their statements, Danica takes them to Teddy's house, where he gaslights everyone into pretending nothing ever happened. Everyone but Ava agrees at first, but she gives in too. 1 year later, Milo picks up Ava from the airport. For some reason, Tyler, Ava's airport hookup, manages to hitch a ride as well. Tyler has a podcast and came to Southport to cover the 1997 massacre, which is, of course, a nod to the original movie. The gang is invited to Danica's bridal shower. Stevie has leveled up socially over the past year by hanging out with rich kids. While Danica opens her gifts, she finds what she thinks is a gift card until she reads it. It says, "I know what you did last summer." Danica demands to know who sent the card, but nobody confesses. Her new boy toy Wyatt shows up, and she pulls aside the friends who know about the accident to show them the note. She suspects Teddy is behind it. He's exactly the type to hold a grudge. Then they start wondering if it could be connected to the victim, Sam Cooper. The group decides to visit Teddy, who looks like hell and insists he's not playing games with threatening notes. That night, while Danica relaxes, Wyatt is cleaning up downstairs. The lights outside suddenly switch on. He goes to check, but they turn off again. As he turns back, an arrow connected to a wire pierces his shoulder and yanks him backward. He struggles to his feet, but out of the darkness, a man in a black raincoat approaches. Another arrow, another pull. Then the killer walks up with a hook and slams it into him. When she is done bathing, Danica comes downstairs and finds her fiancé's corpse posed in front of the fireplace, with the words "You can't erase the past" scribbled in blood on the wall behind him. Like in every horror movie ever, they go to the police, and like in every horror movie ever, the cops are useless. Ava stays with Danica that night, while officers check the perimeter. The next day, the group sits around brainstorming about who could be targeting them. Milo jokes about Ava's airport fling. Tyler, they check her podcast, and it basically describes what's happening to them right now, except it happened back in '97. Ava meets up with Tyler, who already suspects Teddy's dad erased history to turn Southport into the Hamptons and get filthy rich. Tyler takes her to the site of the '97 killings and shows her that back then, the note also said, "I know what you did last summer." The handwriting even matches. Tyler also tells her that some girl named Julie survived the attacks and is now a teacher. When Tyler steps away, the killer appears. He tries to stab Ava with his hook, but she cuts him with a knife and escapes. Tyler and Ava search for a way out, but a giant birdcage drops over Ava. She begs Tyler to get help. Instead, Tyler is cornered by the killer and fatally stabbed with the hook. Before dying, she rips off his mask and cheesily says, "You," and then drops dead. Ava escapes and reunites with Stevie, only to see Tyler's body dangling from the building, hung by the throat. Meanwhile, Julie, still played by Jennifer Love Hewitt, now in her yummy mummy era, teaches a class on trauma. Ava sneaks up afterward to explain what's happening. Julie doesn't believe her at first, but the similarities are too specific to ignore. Before helping, Julie asks Ava the obvious, "What did you do last summer?" Her advice: stop running. These killings are personal. They won't stop until the group figures out who it is and kill the killer first. At a town meeting, Teddy's dad gaslights the whole town into thinking the deaths are just troubled kids offing themselves. That's when Ray walks in, another '97 survivor. He insists they need to take this seriously, but Teddy Sr. would rather pretend nothing's wrong. Ray, who happens to be Stevie's boss, doesn't like the fact that they visited his ex-wife Julie, but since Teddy's dad accidentally revealed that the guy who died Sam drove a stolen car, he does steer them in the right direction by giving them the idea to check out whose car Sam stole last summer. And according to the guy in the impound lot, it belonged to the creepy Pastor Judah. Danica and Teddy visit Sam's grave and find fresh flowers. If Sam supposedly had no one who left them, the graveyard worker checks the cameras. But before he can reveal the truth, the raincoat killer slits his throat. He then chases Danica around the graveyard for a bit until Teddy tackles him and he gets the heck out of there. At Julie's house, motion alarms go off. Someone is circling her property. She panics, only to find Ray at the door. He is there to tell her he doesn't like the advice she gave Ava to try and kill the killer. The guys are all staying with Danica after the attack, and while Milo and Ava are trying to rekindle something, he gets spooked by her kink and stupidly wanders off where he becomes the killer's next victim. He gets strangled outside. Ava sees his car driving away and thinks he just isn't that into her anymore. Ava and Danica sneak into the pastor's church and discover a diary confessing that Sam was part of Judah's culty church. They run to the police, but instead of helping, the cop calls Teddy's dad, who orders him to lock the girls up overnight. Teddy is getting his buzz on when he gets lured towards the killer, but Teddy is not to be messed with, and although he gets stabbed a few times, he manages to knock the killer out cold. Then he crawls up to his parents' house to ask for help while bleeding out, but the killer gets back up as if nothing happened and follows him. Teddy's dad comes outside and sees his son bleeding on the porch, and while he is being a baby about it, the killer sneaks up on him and kills him too. When news spreads, the cops finally release Ava and Danica. Ray warns them to leave town, but on the way out, they discover Milo's body and decide to flee by boat. Ava and Danica are steering when suddenly they hear the anchor fall, and the killer walks in. She takes her mask off. The killer is Stevie. She went off the rails after Sam, who helped her get clean, died. Since the group covered it up, she decided to take from them what they took from her. A brutal fight breaks out on the boat. Danica gets stabbed and thrown overboard, but Ray made his way to the boat with a gun and shoots Stevie. She falls into the water. Ray takes Ava with him to the bar. Meanwhile, Julie notices something weird. Ray and Stevie were very close, so she jumps in her car. Ava notices his arm is bandaged in the same spot she cut the killer earlier. Turns out, Ray and Stevie were working together, and he's been helping her all along. When he finds out Ava knows that he was also the killer, she asks him why he killed Stevie, but he tells her he didn't. Ray tries to kill Ava. When Julie arrives, she distracts him just long enough so that Ava can shoot him through the gut with a harpoon. Danica somehow survives and washes ashore. Ava and Danica recover in the hospital and even plan to hunt Stevie down themselves, since she probably still holds a grudge. A couple of months later, Julie's old college roommate Carla is watching the news when Julie shows up at her door with a note reading, "It's still not over." Carla just sighs and asks, "Who are we fucking up this time?" So now that we know Stevie and Ray are the killers, we should also look into why. And while there's never a good reason to kill, Stevie actually comes pretty close to one. After her so-called best friends dropped her like trash, she spiraled and became addicted to drugs. Pastor Judah took her under his wing, and that's where she met Sam, the love of her life. But on the night of his death, she didn't realize it was him. She could have helped him if Teddy hadn't been such a coward. She could have gone to the police and done the right thing, but she didn't. Over the following year, her resentment grew, driving her to the edge until she wanted to kill all of her old friends. The only exception was Ava, because Ava at least wanted to do the right thing too. Ray, on the other hand, had a very different motive. After being hunted by Ben Willis, whose daughter they accidentally killed in the original movie, Ray never got therapy and never dealt with his grief, which is already a bad idea, but his narcissism made it worse. He couldn't handle the fact that Teddy's dad basically erased the town's history, making everyone forget the killing. To him, that meant his trauma didn't matter, and he couldn't play the victim if nobody even knew why. He'd been spiraling over this for years, and when the girl he'd been raising as his own decided to start killing her friends, he finally snapped. So in the end, his motive was just an insanely selfish reason that could have easily been avoided, like Ava said at the end, if he'd just gotten some goddamn therapy. Most of the characters in 2025's I Know What You Did Last Summer are killed, leaving only a handful of survivors. Out of the film's main 5 characters, only Ava and Danica clearly make it out alive. Despite their serious injuries, both manage to reach a hospital in time. Julie also survives yet another close encounter with death. Although Stevie is seemingly shot by Ray, he later mocks Ava's belief that he actually killed her. The film ends with Ava telling Danica that Stevie is still alive. While she doesn't reappear before the credits, it's clear Stevie could easily return to haunt the girls, or even a brand new cast in a sequel. We don't get to see Stevie in the end, but Ray makes it clear that she's still alive. What we do get, however, is the return of a familiar face from the 1998 sequel, I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, Brandy, reprising her role as Carla. In that film, the killer from the original, Ben Willis, came back for revenge. This time, he even recruited his son Will, who pretended to be Julie and Ray's friend, while secretly leading them straight into his father's murderous plans. Now, we know Stevie will be back for the sequel, but I don't think that alone is enough to carry the movie. After all, in the 98 version, Ben accidentally killed his own son, and Ray ultimately killed Ben with a gun. If the new film wants to impress modern audiences, it's going to have to raise the stakes in a big way. And now, for my opinion, I absolutely hate remakes of good movies that get turned into nothing more than nostalgia fests. I didn't enjoy this one at all, and honestly feel like I lost a couple of IQ points just by watching it. It was sloppy, the twist was obvious, and the jokes fell flat. It feels like Hollywood just wanted another quick cash grab, banking on people watching simply because of the name. They don't seem to care whether anyone actually enjoys it. It scored 36% on Rotten Tomatoes. But for me, it might as well have been a 10%, and that 10% is only because I really like Jennifer Love Hewitt. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.